Yeah.
Alright, what's going on, guys? My name is Sam Kukolich, also known as Kukolich Customs, and today I'm going to be bringing you my first ever YouTube video. This is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and I'm really happy I'm finally getting around to it. So today, I'm going to be taking this used 2016 pair of Yin Yang Jordan 1s and turning them into a pair of Chicago Jordan 1s. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So first thing I'm going to be doing with these shoes is removing the laces so I can get them nice and cleaned up. These are actually in really good shape, especially for the price I bought them for, so it's not going to take much cleaning anyways. For cleaning, I'm going to be using Reshoevn8r's Advanced Sneaker Cleaning Solution. I'm going to be using their all-purpose brush as well. So as you can see, the Reshoevn8r did a really nice job cleaning these things up. You have the after on the left and the before on the right. And then you can see the rest of the shoe here as well. And again, these were in really good condition anyway, so they didn't take that much cleaning. Now, I didn't think I was going to have to put these in the washer, but I didn't like how the tongue was. I thought it was still a little too brown, so I decided to put these things in the washer anyway. For the washer, I'm going to be using Reshoevn8r's Advanced Sneaker Laundry Detergent, and this does a really nice job of just getting that extra clean into the shoes that you can't quite get out yourself. And when doing this, you're going to want to make sure you have cold water and then just put it on a normal cycle. So after these were done, I went and grabbed them out of the wash, and overall I think they turned out pretty good. You can't really see it on camera, but the tongues do look a lot more white, and I'm really happy with how those turned out. So the next thing I'm going to be doing with these shoes is ironing out the creases. You can see a big crease here in the left shoe. The right shoe didn't really have any issues, but the left shoe you can definitely see did. In order to do this, you're going to have to stuff the toe boxes with socks first, and definitely make sure that toe box is nice and tight, because that's going to be the area you're obviously ironing on. When it comes to ironing, you're going to first want to get a damp towel and put it over the toe box, and then just iron normally. I like to periodically just pull the towel up to see how the progress is coming, and that's helpful to obviously make sure these things don't burn as well. You definitely need to be really careful with this step, as they can burn. It's leather, this is a hot iron, so definitely be very careful with this step. But as you can see here, if you are careful and do this method correctly, it'll take that crease right out, and these things are back to looking almost brand new. So the next step is to prep these sneakers, and this is arguably one of the most important steps when it comes to sneaker customization. To do this, I'm going to be using some acetone and cotton rounds and going all around the sneaker in order to get the factory finish off of the shoe. This is also a really important step, and that is going to be taping off the areas of the shoe that are not going to be painted. As you can see here, I'm using my fingernail and just running it along the crevices between the upper and the midsole in order to assure that when I paint this, there's going to be a really nice crisp, clean line between the two. This is another method I like to use to try to assure the cleanest lines possible when I do paint the sneaker, and that's using an X-Acto knife to kind of push the tape under the leather. Obviously, when you have a sneaker here like the Jordan 1, there are pieces of leather sitting on top of other pieces of leather, and that makes it really easy for you to kind of get under it with the X-Acto knife and to push that tape under there as well. You can see in this clip here that the tape kind of overlaps a little bit, but that honestly kind of helps for this method because you can still just tuck it in there and kind of fold it back as well. The next thing I'm going to be doing is taping off this Wings logo using a piece of masking tape and a pencil. All I'm going to be doing for that is pushing down this masking tape so I can see the Jordan logo under it, then taking a pencil and doing a rough outline of the Wings logo. This doesn't have to be perfect, as I'm going to be going in later with a detail brush and working around the Wings logo anyway, so this really just has to be rough in order so you have a piece of tape to cover that when you're painting the sneaker. I don't think this masking tape is going to be good enough to stick onto the sneaker while I'm painting it, so I am going to be laying this on top of a sheet of electrical tape and then cutting it out with an X-Acto knife in order to use that instead. When that's done, I'm just going to line it up with the Wings logo here and place it over it, and then just make sure it's nice and pressed down so it'll really hold those edges well. So this is what the shoe looks like fully taped up, but we're not done prepping just yet. The last thing I'm going to be doing is taking some shopping bags and just stuffing them on the inside of the shoe so the tongue and the sock liner don't get painted. I had to test out a lot of paint mixtures in order to get the Chicago red that I wanted, but to do that I ended up using Angelus Red, Fire Red, Flat Black, Duller, and Too Thin as well, since I'm going to be airbrushing, but if you're hand painting, then you don't need the Too Thin. So after all that prep work, it's finally time to paint these sneakers, and as I said before, I'm going to be using an airbrush for this. I ended up using about 3 to 4 coats with my airbrush, and if you are going to hand paint these things, I still recommend doing 3 to 4 coats as well. So after all those coats and a little bit of movie magic, these things turned out great, and this is one of the most satisfying parts of sneaker customization, and that is peeling off the tape. These ended up looking great. There was minimal mistakes, but we're going to fix those later. So after taking the tape off the shoes, I'm going to be painting the areas of the shoe that need to be painted black. I used Angelus Flat Black for this and used only about 3 coats here. This part's really easy, and it didn't really take me that long. Alrighty, so when it comes down to painting the Wings logo, this is probably going to be the hardest and most difficult part of this custom. Basically all I'm doing though is just taking a small detail brush like this one and just carefully going over the white lines and kind of dabbing the red paint so it's thick and I don't have to do this multiple times. So as you can see, I've already done the left half and all I need to do is the right half, and I'm working from the inside out, and basically what I mean by that is I've done the areas on the inside first rather than going around the Jordan logo second. I've already done this right shoe and I think it turned out really good, but for that one I did the outside first and then the inside second. It's up to you whichever you want to do, but they both end up looking the same in the end. One more thing I want to mention about the Wings logo is that if you get any red paint on the black portions, you can just use a little toothpick, and while it's still wet, you can kind of scratch at it a little bit and it should take it right off. You can see I have an example of this here, as I did get a little bit of red paint on that black portion, but grabbed the toothpick that was sitting right next to me, scratched at it, and it came right off. So after I detailed the Wings logo, I did go around the shoe, and you can see there are some areas that need some touch-up work. This is really going to make your custom stand out from the rest, and I highly recommend doing this. After detailing what I needed to with the red, I did go back with some Angelus Flat White and go over the threads that needed to be painted white. I did that for the vertical stitching on the swoosh, and I did that for the horizontal stitching on the back tab as well. Last thing I need to do regarding the uppers is to put the clear coat on, so I just taped off the midsoles real quick, and for my matte finish, I'm going to be using 3 coats of Angelus's matte finish and some Angelus Duller as well. After that's done, it's time to move on to painting the soles of the shoe, and I'm going to be using the same ratio of paint as I did for the uppers, except for I'm going to be substituting Angelus's regular red paint with Angelus's walk-on red paint. I just used a paintbrush for this, and it only took me about 3 coats to get it to that nice solid red color that you want it to be at. Since this is a painted sole, however, we are going to put sole protectors on these to prevent the paint from cracking when we walk on them. All you do to use them is peel off the backing, heat them up with the heat gun, and then you need to absolutely carefully place these on your soles in order to get them right. After you're done with that, you can just press down on them to get them nice and snug on there, and then heat them up again with the heat gun. And then just once again, I'm going in here with my finger and just pressing it down as hard as I can. You want to make sure these are nice and on there. Here I'm just taking a pair of scissors and cutting off the excess around the midsole, and with that, these things are pretty much done. The last thing I did on this pair of sneakers was paint the Nike Air logos back to white. However, I always like to add something to my customs that make them mine, so on the left Nike Air tag, I customized them to say Kook Air instead of Nike Air. I wanted to paint over the NI in Nike a different shade of red so you could still see it was there though, and I think this really adds to this shoe, and it really personalizes it for myself. With that being said, this pair is finally done, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching my first ever YouTube video. I really hope you enjoyed, and here's one final look at these sneakers, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.